A very good afternoon to all of you. It was nice interacting with some of you yesterday. I hope you enjoyed the session with Jagriti. She was very happy, especially at the nature of questions that were raised. So can I request all of you to open your videos quickly? I don't have to ask this of you, but you do it on your own. Yes, that's the drill that we follow. Good. I'm so glad many of you have opened. And I have compliments to all of you. So many of you have joined on time. That's the culture, that's the practice that you have to develop. Be on time for sessions. If I can be on time, you can jolly well be on time, no? So be on time, and I'm glad that some of you are. I have a few general observations to make before we go on to a very important video on DAF. I'll come to that later on. First of all, a number of you have approached me for one-on-one session, and I've had discussions with some of you, and I'll continue to have. So the drill here is that whoever wants a one-on-one session online can message me directly. Many of you have messaged me directly. And those of you who want to have an offline session, which is a physical session, physical interaction, the next physical interaction is lined up for the 3rd of December. A number of you have already sent your messages to Akash. We are running out of slots. As I said, we have limited slots available. So please make a request if you want an offline session as early as possible. That is one. Number two, I'm assuming that all of you have joined the smaller WhatsApp group for discussion. Can I see some nods here? Can I see some nods here? A nod is Pulkita, or whatever your name is, Pulakta, is this. You can't sit like a... Yes, that's right. Thank you. When you appear before the board, when he asks you something, at least a mild smile or slight nod. I mean, these are very important facial gestures. Communication is not merely about what you speak, but how your face appears. And that's why I insist that you should show your faces. Though despite my repeated requests, some of you have not yet opened your videos. Do that. Keep a mild smile. There's no harm. Nod when you agree. And you can also say no if you don't agree. There's no harm in doing that. Do that. It's very important. So my suggestion is, if you have seen my first video on how to prepare for UPSC personality test, there are some suggestions in it. I'm repeating them because they're very, very important. One, I hope each one of you is reading the editorial article aloud every day. Every day is important. And I'm glad there are some shake of head. Richa is looking here, there, and everywhere. Probably it's very cold for her. She's not responded to my question. I hope you are reading editorial article every day without failure and speaking it out in your own words. It's very critical for you, friends. I keep repeating this year after year. Only 1/3 of you will qualify. My hope is more than that will qualify. But that will depend on what you do from now till the end. Second, participate in group discussions, the WhatsApp groups. Those of you that have not yet been placed in a WhatsApp group, please message Akash immediately. I reviewed this morning and I found that everyone has been put in a group. Some of you probably do not have the courtesy to look at the messages that we send to you. Please respond in the message that we give. Please read every message that we place in the larger group or a message sent directly to you. This is the least courtesy that you can extend to the effort that we are putting in to put you on the right track to become a civil servant. That is an attribute that you should develop even as a civil servant, to respond to a message that comes to you. I can tell you, as Secretary Government of India, considered to be very busy, I used to guarantee a response within 24 hours, and I did that, and I'm proud of that. You have still not become a civil servant. Some of you do not even have the courtesy to respond to the messages. Please read the messages in the larger group regularly and follow the suggestions meticulously. This is in your own interest. Now, I will be taking a series of sessions. Tomorrow, there is a session with the topper of 2013 batch, Gaurav Agrawal. Attend that session. You will benefit. I thought the session yesterday was very good by Jagriti Avasti. She came up with very, very profound, useful suggestions that will help you clear the UPSC examination. After that, I will be taking 3 important sessions. One relating to sensitive issues. The other relating to something which came up yesterday on where there could be a subjective opinion, opinion-based questions. Third will be experiential, anecdotal. How do you respond to a situation? These 3 sessions are going to be critical. We'll announce them very soon. Please mark your time. Note it down somewhere in your calendar, because I was very unpleasantly surprised this morning when I asked somebody, why didn't you attend the session with Jagriti Avasthi, the second ranker? His response was he had gone to Karol Bagh. Now you have to decide whether Karol Bagh is more important or an interaction with second ranker is more important. The choice is yours. You worked hard and traveled this distance. Why do you want to mess it up now? So attend all these sessions. I will be also, after the DAF session today, I'll be taking another session on DAF, because we have come to believe that almost 50 to 60% questions are asked on DAF. Now, those that are approaching me for an interactive session, I will hammer these points time and again. But for heaven's sake, don't come in a conversation with me if you have not seen my first video on how to prepare. Don't ask for a conversation with me if you are not following the routine that I have set for you to improve your communication skills in terms of reading the editorial article. Please don't come to me if you are not actively participating in the group discussion. Now, in case your group is not active, please message Akash. We'll put you in an active group. My job is to see that you get an opportunity to discuss one subject every day that would be helpful to you. Now, coming to the video today, this video was recorded more than a year ago. So some things you may not be able to understand in the sense of reference to an event or item that would have happened then, ignore it. But more importantly, look at the nature of questions that have been asked. And this is not, I'm not guessing here. These are the questions that were actually asked based on DAF. This will help you think your own question. So my suggestion to all of you is, after this video comes through, we'll have a small question answer session. But apart from that, look at your own DAF. Now that DAF, most of you have finalized. I interacted with the dozens of you on how to finalize. And remember this now, write down the questions that come to your mind with regard to the DAF that you have prepared. It's very important. It could run into 100 questions, 150 questions, but write those questions down, because that's the starting point on how to prepare. But all this will not be useful if you are unable to improve your communication skills. That's critical. So with these words, we go on to this video, watch it very carefully, and then prepare your questions, which we'll have an interactive session thereafter. Yes.
StudyIQ IAS, आपका सिलेक्शन हमारा मिशन.
Go through your DAF in a very focused manner. Read every part of your DAF. The first part of DAF is not that important because it's basically factual information. The second part of DAF is very important. Pen down all the questions that come to your mind, all exhaustive as possible. And try and think of answers to those questions. If you are unable to answer certain questions and you feel uncomfortable, we'll have a round of discussion on that. But I would like everyone to be benefited, because otherwise I have to keep repeating the same thing over and over again over the phone. It's very difficult for me because there is a time constraint at my end also. But I would certainly like to interact with you. So all sensitive questions, we'll have a questions on sensitive questions, a session on sensitive questions where we'll take up those questions. And what I want to convey to you very clearly, which I tried to do in the first session also, it is not what you answer. What is most important is how you answer that question. How do you approach that answer? You are not supposed to know answers to all the questions. In fact, even after 38 years of service, I still do not know answers to all the questions. But I can suggest to you, how do you approach an answer? What is critical is the manner in which you reach out, you approach that answer. And I will take clear examples to explain to you. With these words, let me come to the session today, which is titled as the DAF Detailer. The reason why we said this is that in our research on the basis of questions last year, as I mentioned earlier also, we discovered that more than 60% of the questions are picked up from DAF. And hence DAF becomes a very critical document. And that is why right from the beginning we have been insisting that please show us your DAF before you submit it. Most of you did it, and I think they are much more improved draft this time, but some of you didn't. Some of you have still written a few funny things in DAF. Now, Whatever is done is done. You will have to live with that. We will try in our conversations with you, try and suggest to you what are the possible tricky questions that can come out of the DAF, and then maybe guide you how to prepare that. But before I start this, I hope, and I want to see nods of your heads, I hope all of you are following the drill of reading the editorial article aloud. Navneet, are you doing that? So you didn't even nod your head, you know, I'm asking you to nod your head. You can do it Hyderabadi way also, I understand this. But it's better if you nod it this way, it's clearer. So I'm assuming all of you are doing that. Mind you, this is the single most technique to improve the manner in which you speak, to improve your knowledge, to improve your diction, to improve your vocabulary. It's really enormously helpful. So those of you that are not doing it, please do that regularly. This is very important. If you're not regular, then it won't help. It's like a pill. It's a daily pill. If you don't do it regularly, you know, you will hear from those that have qualified in the past 2-3 years, and you'll also hear how they benefited through this drill. So I keep repeating that. Don't miss out on that. That is one. Second of you, I'm assuming all of you are a part of some group or the other. Yes, I see many nods. I see very many nods. Pooja has not been able to say yes or no. Pooja, are you member of some group? Yes, good. Thank you. So participate in group discussions regularly. Give it a priority. Unless there's an emergency, don't skip that. If you skip that, it will be at your own peril. The reason is very simple. I have had the occasion to visit some of the groups, and I was impressed at the manner in which those group discussions were happening. I must also confess, I find them much better than what I saw last year. So I'm glad that you all are indulging yourself, but sometimes I find some of you coming late to group discussions, which I think is being unfair to other group members. You get into the habit of getting late, you will become a civil servant. Yes, you will, but you will get such a terrible name for yourself that you will think, why did you become a civil servant? I'm telling you from experience. So get into the habit of being on time. There can be 1 or 2 times when you are late, one can understand. But if you come late, at least have the courtesy to apologize and say, I couldn't join at this point in time because of this reason, I am now joining. See, these are courtesies that you develop naturally, it will help you later on. Okay, with these words, we come to DAF Detailer. Here, what we are trying to do today is to suggest to you on the basis of the feedback that we got from the aspirants who appeared in the personality test last year, as to what sort of questions can be asked on what you have written in DAF, right? So we'll show you slides just to indicate to you the type of questions. This will enable you to think about your own DAF. The idea here is not to provide answers to all the questions. The idea here is to make you think about your own DAF so that you can write the questions yourself, and then your discussion with me on one-on-one or future sessions will be much more meaningful. We have not taken DAF of this year, what you all have filled. These are DAFs of the previous years and actual questions that were asked on the basis of DAF. For your DAF related questions, we'll have a separate session where you can ask questions. Sir, I have written this. This is the likelihood of a question. I think whether this should be the right answer or not. We'll have much more detailed discussion there. Is that fine? Shall we go ahead with this? Now this one? Right. Thank you. So here you have something had written harmonium here, music. Now look at the question. Something would have happened with this harmonium controversy. Now what is expected of you is that anything that you've written here, around that if some recent event has happened, you should be able to answer that. Now it may perhaps not be asked of anybody else. Now suppose flute is written here, okay. Now if the person who played the flute best, he somehow passed away or he did a performance, you should know that, because that's your hobby. Now, as I keep saying, hobby does not mean that you should become an expert in that area. That's the difference between hobbies and expertise. You don't have to be an expert, but you have to be aware. So if you love playing harmonium and you enjoy playing harmonium, then if something has happened in the national or in the international arena with related to harmonium, you are supposed to know. Is that okay? So this is something we should keep in mind, that whatever is written here, when you write reading fiction novel, for example here, so I'm digressing a bit, this question was not asked of this candidate, but you could be asked, which is the last fiction novel that you read? Now you can't say, sir, I don't remember the last fiction novel. No, that is not acceptable. You should know which last, and then you should know something about that novel. You need not know in detail. Now let me contrast with something else, which I think I mentioned last time. When I was being interviewed for the second year, there was a gentleman sitting on the board who was reading a book. And he read out a statement from that book. And he asked me, what do you make out of this book? Now, I had obviously not read that book. So I'm not supposed to know the details. I could get away with that. But suppose he was reading a book which I at some point in time mentioned that I have read it, then you are expected to know the answer. Is that understood? So in your hobbies, you don't have to become an expert. Number one, if some recent occurrence has taken place, happening has had, either nationally, internationally, you should be aware of that, right? This is very, very important. Second, you should know clearly the answer. Why do you treat it as a hobby? And again, I don't know whether I said last time or not. Not in my IAS interview, in some other interview, I had given music as my hobby. And I don't think I should have done that because I didn't know much about music. So this guy asked me, Mr. Swarup, can you sing? So immediately it came to my mind, and don't try that. I did that, I got away with it. I said, sir, I am a Kansen, not a Tansen. So I got away with that. If you can get that sense of humor, nothing like it. But you should be able to have some idea about the area that you've written here, right? Now here you have. Now this is a very dangerous thing that was written here, because unless you know something here, and this is extracurricular activities such as hobbies, reading Bhagavad Gita. I would have not advised him to write that, because on the other side of the, the board members, everyone would believe that he knows Gita. Each one of us at this age believes that we know Gita, whether we know it or not, and then make your life difficult. But anyway, since you've written Bhagavad Gita, look at the question that was asked. And this is an actual question. This is not worked out question. You have chosen Sanskrit as your optional. Your hobby is reading Bhagavad Gita. What is written in Bhagavad Gita apart from doing your duty without expectations? Please tell us in 2-3 lines. You understand this, because everyone talks about कर्मण्य वाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन. वो तो है ही, कर्म क्या किया आपने, उसके अलावा क्या है भगवद गीता में? Now you can't get away by saying that you are a student of Sanskrit and you read Bhagavad Gita and say, sir, I don't know anything beyond कर्मण्य वाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु. वो तो नॉन हॉबी वाले को भी पता है. I mean, my hobby is not reading Bhagavad Gita, but I know कर्मण्य वाधिकार. So if you have a hobby, you should have something more than a man on the street. You get this point? You can't get away by saying, sir, हमने सिर्फ कर्मण्य, तो आपको गीता पढ़ने की क्या जरूरत थी? तो हर जन जानता है कर्मण्य वाधिकारस्ते, करे ना करे. So you have to. I am glad at least some of you are smiling. Others तो ऐसा लगता है कि गौतम बुद्ध अवतरित हो गए हैं. मुस्कुराना भूल दिया आप लोगों ने. तो मैं आप लोगों की शक्ल इसलिए देख रहा हूं कि मेरी बात दीवार पे लग रही है या आपके मस्तिष्क में जा रही है ना? तो थोड़ा कभी कभी एक्सप्रेशन आ जाए तो अच्छा रहता है. जब बोर्ड मेंबर भी आपसे कुछ पूछ रहा हो तो उसको लगना चाहिए कि उसकी बात आप तक पहुंच रही है. आप ऐसे बैठे रहेंगे तो कैसे वो कहेगा मालूम नहीं कहाँ घुस रही है, पहल रही नहीं, पहुंच रही है ना? थोड़ा चेहरे का एक्सप्रेशन बनाइए, है ना? सो what is the use of different yoga written in Bhagavad Gita as the society is moving towards materialistic things? Now, if I were asked this question, I can't answer this question. This gives me to another point. I am looking at some of the discussions that are happening in your groups, which are very erudite, intellectually very profound discussions that are going on, very detailed. My friends, it does appear that you all have very good knowledge, which you are supposed to be when you do give your mains exam. It's the height of knowledge that you have. I don't have that knowledge. And let me tell you, board members will also not have that knowledge. So as far as knowledge is concerned, don't try and display too much knowledge. I keep repeating, it is how you present that knowledge before the board that will matter. So focus on the how part of it quite a lot, not as much on the details. Maximum you will speak for 2-3 minutes, not beyond that. इससे ज्यादा भाषण वो आपका नहीं सुनेंगे क्योंकि उनको सबको अपनी आवाज अच्छी लगती है. ठीक है, तो आपको तो उतनी नॉलेज होनी चाहिए. It's no harm in having lesser knowledge and better expression than having more knowledge and poor expression. So focus on expression much more. Here, if suppose, for example, you don't know this, I'm taking another, then confess it. Don't try and guess it. I said that in my first session. I will repeat time and again. Don't guess something you do not know. Why? In hobby at least, having a hobby does not mean you have the detailed knowledge. If they ask you, bhai wo चौथे पन्ने पर भगवत गीता पे क्या लिखा है, तो आप you can safely say no and get away with it. You're not supposed to remember which page and which slok and where it is written. The general idea of Bhagavad Gita, yes, you are supposed to know, but not. So don't become nervous in the board if you don't know an answer. Even if the answer that you should have known, you don't know. Why? Because by living in that mistake, you will not be able to answer the question that you know well. You know, I committed that error in my first year. I did not know an answer. I could not get out of my failure of answering a particular question. In second year, I said no to 25% of questions and I used to get out of it. That is something which will come through practice. You are not supposed to know everything under the sun, and there's nobody on the earth that knows everything in the sun. That will give you enormous confidence that they will be, go prepared, that there will be many questions that you will not be able to answer. Go mentally prepared. You should get into the psychology of being able to get out of your ignorance and then speak well on what you know. So what the board is looking at is, how honest are you and what is your integrity about accepting your ignorance, lack of knowledge, mistakes. These are positive features. Don't become nervous if you don't know an answer. I'm repeating this time and again because I know of large number of candidates who become nervous because they think that they should have known this answer, they should not know. There will be another situation where you know the answer but you are unable to recall at that point in time. There is a brain fade. It happens with me even now. And then you curse yourself even more. Yaar, ye to pata tha, nahi bata paye. So cursing yourself will deprive you of being fluent in subsequent questions. So as I keep saying, live in the moment. Pehle ho gaya hai. And you are not the only one. Everyone has runs through that. So this is necessary for you to feel confident. Then there's another question where Bihar was stated here. Now again, this is totally different from the part that we were discussing earlier, hobbies. This is general and this applies to anything. You could be from UP, you could be from Karnataka. So what you should know is, first, you should know a bit about historical context of the state that you're coming from. So people coming from Uttarakhand should know when it got divided, what were the issues with the UP government, what were the initial issues that were faced. People from Chhattisgarh should know that. Has bifurcation helped? Has it not helped? So you have to think in terms of all possible questions. Fundamentally, you should know the primary problems that afflict the state that you are coming from. What are the primary problems? You should be able to list them out. You don't have to list out 20 of them. Start listing 3-4, wo apne aap rok denge aapko. Then you should also know the possible solutions to that problem. Now, you should not be, as I heard in some of the group discussions, making categorical statements. I have been repeatedly saying that at your age, you are not supposed to know answers to everything. You are not supposed to have frozen views on issues. So never start answering a question by a yes or no. Please explain and then come to a conclusion in the end, whatever that conclusion is. Don't make categorical statements. Don't make extreme statements. Both are equally bad. And hence, if you recall my first session, please take a look at it again. I have suggested a few phrases that you can use while answering the question. Now, let us take a look at the questions here. You are from Bihar, very populous state. Land holdings are very small. What are the steps government is taking to solve the issues for small and hold farmers? Now, this is a very major problem of the state. So anyone coming from Bihar would be aware of this, should be aware of this, and should also be aware of the steps taken. And that's why I said earlier, you should be aware of the problems of your state and the steps taken so far and your own views on that. They will ask you, if you, for example, you made the chief secretary of the state, what will you do? Now, you're not supposed to know everything there, but you should be able to present some suggestions before the board and say, these are the possible way forward. I'm using the word possible. You should not say these are the way forward. This is how it should be done. These terms like should, etc. should be avoided as much as possible. Yours are suggestions. And this does not show that you are not sure about what you're saying. You are sure about what you're saying on the basis of the facts at your command. But at your age, you are not in control of all the facts. Perhaps you're not privy to all the facts. So some more facts come in, probably you will change your view. So some people ask me, sir, we will appear as not sure of ourselves. No, you are sure of yourself on the basis of the information available at your command. If more information becomes available, then probably you could even reconsider your view, and that's a positive feature of a personality, right? So, are FPOs working good in Bihar? No, let us assume you don't even understand what an FPO is. Sir, I'm sorry, sir. I have not understood the FPO part of it. ठीक, या तो वो बता देगा या वो आगे बढ़ जाएगा. वो आपसे ये नहीं कहेगा you should have known. They will never say that. But if you don't know something and if you want a clarification, seek a clarification from the board. No harm. Don't ever think by seeking clarification आपके number कट जाएंगे. No, it won't happen that way. Then, is it practical to combine lands increase mechanization? Now, this mechanization part could be asked for Punjab, could be asked for any other state. But that guy who would have asked, I don't know who asked this question, could have been from Bihar. So he would know much more about Bihar than anybody else. Then Brahmins don't want to share land with lower caste. Now this takes to a different way altogether. Now this is the caste related issue, the feudal culture of that place. Again, my friends, don't take an extreme view and say, sir, Brahmins have destroyed Bihar, and you destroyed yourself by saying that. Don't take an extreme view. Some people, some people have been in conversation with me and they become very emotional about it. I tell them, please don't be emotional. You may have a point of view. For example, what is happening to some people get very excited about what is happening, say, in Israel, from one part or the other. Some people favor Hamas, the others say Israel. No, my friends, you may have a personal view on that. But as a civil servant or a budding civil servant, you are supposed to have a balanced view. So don't take extreme views. So these type of questions could be asked. The idea of presentation today is, on the basis of these questions, you frame your own questions on your own DAF that you submitted and make an exhaustive list of that. And gradually, in discussions with your friends, with us, you can find answers to them. Here's another one. Now, he's come from the Vishwesvaraya Technology Institute. Now, it could be, they could ask about technology, they could ask about university, they ask about Vishwesvaraya, they will ask about Bangalore, they will ask about Karnataka, since you are from there, anything related to that. But here they picked up Vishwesvaraya, and look at the question, what were the contributions of Vishwesvaraya? Now, anyone coming from Vishwesvaraya University should know this. Similarly, anyone coming from Banaras and having studied in IIT Banaras or Banaras Hindu University should know about Madan Mohan Malviya. You are expected to know that. Now, let us take an extreme case where you don't know. Admit it. You may get some negative marks, but if you try and fib, you'll get even more negative. So you cut your losses. So don't fib. You are supposed to know. If you prepare yourself well, you would have actually visualized. Last year experience tells me, because last year we went into the details of DAF related questions. All those candidates who did study their DAF well have done extremely well. So this becomes very important. They asked, what are the provisions included? Now, this comes from the electrical part. Here, they say electrical and electronic, anything could be asked. So you should understand this. Then this is something which happened recently at that point in time. So whatever you've written here, if something new has happened or interesting has happened, you are supposed to know about it. Do you know about distribution companies, DISCOMs? Now this comes from engineering, electrical. This question will come from there. Then what are the new technologies in electrical domain? So all this is coming out of this, what they have written here. And mind you, as I said, 60 to 70% questions emanate from DAF. So you can actually prepare very well for them. Now playing chess. Now any type of questions emanating out of chess could evolve. They could ask you the difference between the Indian variety of chess and the international variety of chess. Now if you have a hobby as chess, you are expected to know the difference between the two. And if they ask you how does the pawn move and how does the queen move, you should be able to tell. Anyone who plays chess would know that. But they will ask you. Then they will ask you related questions like statecraft. Now anyone interested in chess is supposed to know, because if you look at the origins of chess game, it was born out of learning the statecraft. They could even have asked, does chess help you otherwise apart from the hobby part? Does it help you concentrate? Does it help you relax? You should be able to answer those questions. Again, the point that is being made here is that whatever you write here, you should visualize questions that will come. We have not mentioned questions here, but reading self-help books could lead to a lot many other questions. Does reading help? Has it helped you? What are the self-help books that you've read? Can you name some of them? What is the lesson that you derived from them? How did you practice them? Do you still practice them? Any number of questions. So what you've written here assumes importance. Then here, cities, Varanasi, Faridabad. It could be anything. It could be mechanical engineering. Questions from engineering could emerge. Then Haryana, it could emerge. You are coming from Haryana. So what are the problems that Haryana faces? If Haryana has been in the news in the recent past, what are the major issues that afflict Haryana? Female infanticide, what has happened to it? So all issues relating to that state, you should try and brush them up, and you should have your own point of view on those issues. But again, as I keep repeating, your point of view is a point of view. That is not the answer, the only answer, and it should not be expressed as such. Let us look at the questions that were asked. Cultural significance of Banaras. Anyone come from Banaras should be able to answer this question. People not from Banaras should also be able to answer. But if you lived in Banaras 2 years, 3 years, you should be able to understand or here they are not seeking a factual information from you. They are seeking how do you approach an answer to a question like this. It's very, very important. Similarly, look at any similar holy city in Haryana. And if you lived in Banaras, you come from Haryana, you should know it. Which is the holy city? Should be able. But this is a factual question. There won't be very many factual questions asked of you. It's a very rare factual question that is asked. In most of the cases, it will be the opinion that will be sought. Then Faridabad, in which year established and why? If you don't know this answer, don't worry. I have deliberately written this question here. You're not supposed to remember the years in Faridabad just because you happen to live in Haryana. It is not by Battle of Panipat that you remember the year. Even if that you don't remember, doesn't matter. So this guy was asked too many factual questions. It doesn't really matter whether you say yes or no. It doesn't really matter. Then tell me the post-STEM independence story of Faridabad in detail. Now it appears that since he's written Faridabad here, such details are being sought. Such details can be sought of you about the city where you lived. So you may not remember the year, but you should know how has Faridabad evolved over the years. So year is a factual information. How is evolved is more of an idea that you have how it has happened. Now, Gurgaon, from Faridabad to Gurgaon, and from Gurgaon it could go off to concrete jungle, environment, drainage, anything. So here again, if you know the art of responding, how to respond, art of responding, sorry, not responding, art of responding, you should be able to tackle almost any questions that is thrown at you. Now here, the guy had given mechanical engineering. It could be from Varanasi. Here again, you have Varanasi here. So questions could have been asked about Varanasi. Somebody else was asked about Varanasi. Here, he was not asked about Varanasi. The focus was on mechanical engineering. So what is it? What are the different types of turbines? Now, mechanical engineer should know, would know. Now, here, more than the fact of the types of turbines, it is how you present your answer that's very important. I keep using this word as to how do you present an answer. This is very, very critical of how you present the facts at your command. Not knowing a fact will not be held so much against you, but if you are unable to present them properly, as civil servants you will discover, and I'm sure many of you will qualify, that a lot of facts become available. You don't have to fight for facts. You don't have to fight hard for facts. The question is, how do you interpret the facts? How do you present the facts? That is an attribute that is being sought from civil servants, and that is the attribute that is being tested by the board. So more than the facts, obviously anyone who's done mechanical engineering would know the types of turbines. It's how you present, because the next question could be, when you tell about turbine, they will ask you what is the application difference, how it is applied. So these sort of things. What is knocking in an engine, how to avoid it? Now, knocking is something could be asked of anyone who knows how to drive a car, and knocking happens in the car. It could happen elsewhere. So if you don't know about it, say no, don't worry about it. Sometimes we get worried about our ignorance, and that's why I keep repeating, you're not supposed to know everything. Even if you're supposed to know something and you don't know, say so. That will give you enormous confidence. Don't worry about it, your ignorance about facts. My problem with you would not be ignorance about facts sitting on this side of the table. My problem would be that what you know you are unable to present properly. Because these days in the new world, in my time we didn't have facts at our command. Today everything is available on the phone. If I want to ask anything, I'll get it from there. Turbine, what types of turbine, what is knocking, everything will be there on the phone. So information is not a problem. The question is how that information is presented and interpreted. For that, you have to develop your communication skills. Then of course, I don't know what tetraethyl lead is. Frankly speaking, I don't know. If someone asks me, I'd say no. I'm not expected to know. Even this guy, if he's forgotten about it, doesn't matter. If he knows it, he should say that. Now, this is a very interesting aspect. Some of you have this army background. You must understand the issues with army, the positives of army, the attributes of an armyman. What have you learned from them? All these aspects. And if you've been somewhere, so for example, you've been Rakhmuti or Akhnur, how is that place? No, none on the side of the table who are interviewing you would know about these places. So they're not bothered about facts. Here again, they are more concerned about whether a person like you is aware of the surroundings where he lives. Because as a civil servant, you have to be aware of your surroundings. And if your eyes and ears are not open, if you're not perceptive, if you are unable to analyze, then what sort of a civil servant you will make? These are the attributes required of a civil servant, and hence you should know that. So values inherited from army school should be able to, I mean, you would know it, but sometimes you don't know how to express it. And that's why it's important to look at your DAF very closely, very intensively, and see how do you answer those questions. Now, it's a very interesting hobby mentioned here, helping family in agriculture activities. Very interesting. But then there could be any type of questions that could be asked. And the questions, how would you help your family in agriculture? How do you do that actually? And this is where they will catch you if you've written it wrongly here. And if you are unable to express properly, you will be caught, and that will be serious. So don't write, since you've already written it, don't say something which you haven't done. Those people are very smart. They will catch you. So be truthful to yourself and to everyone else. Be straight. As I keep saying repeatedly, if you haven't done something, if you don't know anything, say no. That's the best answer. Then as a farmer, what problems faced by your family? Very natural question. What problem does a farmer face? I'm sure anybody who wrote this would know this, but he would not have practiced answering that question, and that's where the problem arises. I don't think anybody who's been a farmer or held a farming family would not know the problems that a farmer faces. The key question in a board is, you may know, but if you are unable to express, and that's the reason why in the beginning I said, improve your diction, improve your communication skills, that will help you to express yourself eloquently. Issue of chemical fertilizer. Very natural question for farmers. Organic fertilizer, chemical fertilizers, what could be the difference? What is nanoliquid area? Now, I don't know what this is. So if I don't know, I'll say no. As simple as that. Have you seen bottle of it, of liquid urea, nanoliquid area? It's a factual question. If you've seen it, say yes. If you haven't seen it, say no. Then is soil health card a successful scheme? This is something which everyone would know. Anyone who studied it, appearing before the board, even if you haven't held a farmer, you would know about the soil card part. But here they are asking him of his personal practical experience because he says that he held the family. Now here again, Vedanta Limited. Now this is a very interesting area. Vedanta can take you anywhere. You written here, it could be actual Vedanta, the Upanishads. They could talk about it. They haven't asked it here. But here, it's talking about the company Vedanta. Then you should know, since you work there, you should know what are the problems that company has faced, what are its antecedents, what could possibly future. And that's why when you look at your own DAF, look at various aspects of what you've written here. Look at the questions that were asked. What was your job profile? Here again, the guy would know his job profile. But the question is whether he is able to express what his job profile is. Then there are indeed environmental related issues related to Vedanta. Huge number of them. Anyone who's not even worked there should know them. But anyone who's worked there is expected to know what are the environmental related issues. Here again, don't give in categorical answers whether Vedanta was right or wrong, whether environment was destroyed or not destroyed. Take a middle path, right? Then is it right to sacrifice the environment? Now this goes to a general question which each one of you should be able to answer. Please take note of this question. This could be asked of anybody irrespective of Vedanta. Is it right to sacrifice the environment for mining and developmental activities? Anyone could be asked this question, but it has emanated from Vedanta. But this is something which each one of you should be able to answer. Then isn't Campa? Now, some of you may not know Campa, some of you may know Campa. If you know Campa, you should be able to answer. If you don't know Campa, say, sir, I don't know Campa. What is Campa? Then measures to balance development and environment. This is related to this question. Third and fifth are related questions. So such questions could be asked of you. Here, now had he consulted me before filling the DAF, I would not have asked him to write this, because this is hardly a great achievement. But he asked this question. Never. Since he wrote Rajasthan Public Service Commission, the issues relating to Rajasthan Public Service Commission and why you didn't get the job after clearing it. So this is again a question emanating out of what you've written in DAF. Origin of Ghumar. Now, since he's written Ghumar there. Even as a hobby, you should know where and how did this dance emerge. You are expected to know that. Let us assume for the sake of argument, you don't know. As I said in music, I said I am a Kansen, not a Tansen. I don't understand Sa. I told the board that I don't understand that between Sa, Re, Ga. I don't understand. So as a hobby, and then I explained further, sir, I listen to music which I like. I don't understand the nuances of music, but I appreciate it. Fair enough. If you know it, explain it. If you don't know it, you can skip that and say you don't know. Here again, patent holder. Now this is in trouble. You know, there will be some guy sitting there who would know that. I would not have written all this here. Last year, this year we were more particular about reaching out to you on writing what you write in DAF. Last year we couldn't do that. We came late. They had already filled in the forms. And patent, look at the questions. What have you been doing since this, of course, since he appeared last year and he was there. This question can be asked of each one of you who has spent doing nothing in the past 3-4 years. In one-on-one discussions, I'll try and explain to you how you can possibly answer that question, but it will be different for different persons. You must have a good answer to a question. If you have not done anything after your graduation or post-graduation, you've just been preparing for the civil service. So that's the question that they would ask. Then, of course, if you are a patent holder, you should be able to explain what sort of patent you hold, what is the process, how did you get it, what is the international organization, what are the problems with regard to patent. So everything that emanates out of it should come here. Now, there are people who opt for, here of course is the usual thing, first Indian Administrative Service, Foreign Service, Police Service. Some people have given Indian Police Service as the first choice. Nothing wrong with it. But you should have a good explanation to explain why you have placed Indian Police Service over the IAS. Or some people have put in Revenue Service, which is right here, 14 number, as number 1. You should be able to explain why do you want to opt for Indian Revenue Service and not the IAS, which is the usual term. This is again not to say that one's service is better than the other. Anywhere you go out of the routine, then you should have a clear answer as to what that should be, right? This is it.
StudyIQ IAS. आपका सिलेक्शन, हमारा मिशन.
Right. Okay. So I hope you got the nuances here. The idea of making this presentation was to make you think. Certainly these very questions will not be asked. But if you understood it correctly from your own DAF, you should be able to now write your questions, what they would come. Now, the questions would be in two varieties. One would be very specific to you. That we will take up in one-on-one. But there will be some questions that will emerge which will benefit others also. So in some cases, when some of you interact with me, I tell them, please ask this question in the group because others will also benefit it out of the answer that I give. So list out those questions. As I said, I've already had a one-on-one discussion with some of you. Others have requested. I will call them. My request to all of you, when you make a request, then keep the phone with you after you make the request to me. Because this morning I rang up somebody, the brother picked up the phone and I had to explain in 2 minutes as to who I was. Then he, of course, he said, I will tell my sister and she will come back to you. It's fine with me, but it might appear to you that since we are giving this free guidance program, I have all the time in the world. I do have a lot of time, but not the time to have a general conversation with somebody else or keep ringing you up. So when you make a request, try and keep the phone with you and then treat these sessions more important than your visits to Karol Bagh. So it's very important. Or for that matter, somebody said that I sleep early, so I will not take this session. So this early sleeping, you'll have to forget for some time. Sleep at a usual hour. Don't sleep at 7 o'clock. If there's a session at 8 o'clock, attend that session. So we'll be lining up these sessions primarily either at 9 o'clock in the evening or during the day as we've done today. Try and attend those sessions. And finally, before I open to your questions is, there'll be a lot of advice coming to you, Rai Sahabs, lot of advice. And people come to me, sir, उसने तो ये कहा था, मैं क्या करूं? तो जिसने कहा था उससे पहले पूछ लीजिए उसके कितने नंबर आए थे इंटरव्यू में. That's the best way to determine आप उसकी बात सुने ना सुने. It's very important for you to listen to appropriate advice. I'm telling you, otherwise you'll get thoroughly confused. Sir, ये करें या ये करें, ये करें. I'm not saying what the advice being given by others is not correct, but look at the antecedents of the person who's giving the advice. That's very important. क्योंकि वो जो साहब गए थे वहां पर करोल बाग में तो डाइम डजन लोग हैं, आपको खूब मिल जाएंगे राय देने के लिए. आप सुनते रहिए उनको, टाइम वेस्ट कीजिए. My suggestion is follow what we are suggesting to you. Rest, of course, you have to decide. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left. We can have a few questions here. And please raise your electronic hand and we'll call out your name and then you can ask the question. Any question, observation, anything. Yes, Himanshu.
Namaste, sir. Thank you once again for the enriching session. So yesterday I asked a question during Jagrati ma'am's session, and you said to bring that up again. Is now the time for that or
Yes,
later?
please go ahead. Ask your question.
सर अभी आपने जो करंट हमने वीडियो देखा उसमें आपने कहा था कि you should lead them to a conclusion. So basically, मेरा क्वेश्चन भी कल इसी टाइप का था. Do you start with a stance and then justify it? That is one way of doing it. Second is you start with pros and cons and then give your stance, which matches with what you recently said 20 minutes ago. Third is you set up a context around it, as in set up a context in the sense that you have understood the question well and you are preparing a platform for what you are about to say. So these are a few options I have in mind. This is obviously for the opinion-based questions. If there's something factual, then it will have a 20-second answer. But for a legit opinion-based questions, which approach would you recommend?
Okay, so I have lined up a full session on opinion-based question. So I have an offer to all of you. Please message in the larger group of WhatsApp which opinion-based questions you would like to discuss in that session. May I also suggest to you, post in the larger group, not 3 types of questions. Number 1, if you want any situational question to be discussed here, list it there. Let everyone benefit from it. Each one of you has this option of writing that situation and ask a question which we'll discuss in that session. Similarly, for an opinion-based question, write those questions in the group and we'll take up those questions. And number 3, apart from opinion-based, situational-based, write any current controversial question. Write them there and then we'll take it up. But since you've raised this question, let me answer your part of the question, which we'll consider again when we take opinion-based question. It depends on your comfort level or how you should go. Certainly not starting with the final judgment. Don't start with that. That, of course, is ruled out. But apart from that, you can use it either way. You can either start in a very balanced manner. Sir, for example, has corruption grown in this country? It's a controversial question and you need an opinion. How do you start answering that question? I would start by saying, sir, there might be some studies that may have indicated towards growth of corruption in certain ways. But sir, my understanding of corruption is that in certain areas, certainly corruption has grown, but in other areas, as a consequence of technological intervention, corruption has actually gone down. So I've given a balanced view up front. Then I can go and elaborate the first part where corruption has actually grown. And in the second part, I'll say how technology has brought down the corruption. My answer is done. Is that okay with you, Himanshu?
Yes, sir. Definitely.
So I'm using this word. I'm now challenging all of you to come up with the most controversial of questions and let us see how do we answer them. Once you become comfortable with any question under the sun, then you will be able to answer any question. Now, when we answer this question, we look at two parts to it. Number one, where you are aware of the factual details and where you are not aware of the factual details. You should be confident enough to answer in both cases. You should know how to use those facts to embellish your answer. You should also be able to answer a question where you're not conversant with the facts, yet you want to answer a question. These are the types that we are going to discuss as we hold those 3 sessions. Is that approach okay with all of you? So I am now challenging all of you to position your questions in the group. Please do that. And don't feel shy. I mean, you're not going to get marks on the basis of questions that you would write in the WhatsApp group. Put it there. Put it there, question, right? This is the opinion-based question I would like to discuss during this session. This is the incident-based or experience-based question that I would want. This is the controversial question that I want to ask. Write those questions and we will try and structure them. Why I'm saying this is, as I said earlier, there are certain questions that will be specific to you based on DAF. That I'll discuss on one-on-one. But there will be questions which would be of benefit to everyone. In some conversations, that's why I say, as I said yesterday, raise this in a general group so that others also benefit. Otherwise, I'll have to keep repeating the same thing over and over again. Is that okay with all of you? I'm glad some of you are nodding heads, but Adit Gehlot is frozen. He's frozen. Oh, I'm so glad he's just smiled. आप नहीं समझते मैं कितना प्रसन्न हो जाता हूं आपकी मुस्कुराहट देखकर. मुझे कभी-कभी लगता है मैं बुद्ध से बात कर रहा हूं और मुझे दुख ये लगता है कि कहीं बोर्ड के सामने आप बुद्ध बने रहे तो आप चाहे जो शब्द बोलेंगे उसका कोई मतलब नहीं होगा. And this applies to Pulkita also. There's no harm in smiling a bit or nodding your head. Some expressions help. I mean, I was seeing even when the video was being played, some of you were nodding your heads. Develop that habit of acknowledging that you are in a conversation. You're not watching a movie. You are in a conversation with somebody, and conversation means not merely speaking. Responding through facial expression is in being communication. Ananya, do you get this point? Oh, I'm so glad you nod your head. Good. Any other question, observation that you have? Yes. Reshma.
Good afternoon, sir.
गुड आफ्टरनून रेशमा. आप कहाँ
Sir,
बैठी हैं?
my
बड़ा बढ़िया पीछे आपका पेड़ वेड़ दिख रहा है. कहीं बाहर
sir,
बैठी हैं?
I'm sitting outside of my study hall, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes.
Sir, I would like to know about answering the open-ended questions, sir. Questions like, what do you think about South India, or what do you like about South India, and all those questions. How
So,
can we structure it, sir?
first of all, don't close any answer. The question may be independent or open-ended, but don't close it because you are not of the age or knowledge to close any question. It continues to be open. So if you are asked about South India, you have to look at it positively, sir. In my understanding of what is happening in South India, many things have happened here, socially, culturally, economically. You structure it. What has happened socially? What has happened culturally? What is happening economically? And we are proud of that. Be proud of being a South Indian. That's it. You present yourself as a positive person who's proud of what is happening, and then also says that there are certain aspects that require to be looked into. List them down. These are aspects that we should work on. That's it. Do I answer your question? See, as I said, even in the presentation, structuring of your answer is critical. I hope you imbibe that as we discuss. As you read the editorial articles aloud, you will understand what is the importance of structuring an answer, because they are well-structured written documents. That structuring should become automated in your mind. You have about a month. If you practice what I tell you every day, as you walk, as you talk, make a conscious effort to structure your answers, it will become a second nature. And you'll find it very easy. Like right now, you ask me any question under the sun. I don't know hang about it, yet I'll present it in a very structured manner. Because my mind is made that way. Any question comes, I'll structure it. That is what I want you all to become. Yes, Mahika.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Can you be slightly louder, Mahika?
Sir, am I audible?
You can be slightly louder. I don't know why it is not so as loud.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yes, it's fine now. Yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, I wanted to ask, so in the service preferences, the slide that you also showed, so for instance, I have preferred IFS over IPS. So sometimes they ask why this service over the other. So, sir, how can we answer it in a smart manner so that it doesn't become versus any service because
It
all
should
of them are
not.
good?
It should
Yes.
not become versus any service. You know, when they ask me about why do you want to switch over from police to the IS, my first half minute was praising IPS, how good it is. And then I came to understand how IS is better than police without pulling. I said, I'm thoroughly enjoying my training in the police. It's a very fine service, very disciplined service. I've learned a lot. But, sir, in the IS, the options, the canvas is much bigger, the variety is much more. These sort of answer that I gave. Now, when opting for foreign service, you must have had some reason why do you want to go for foreign service. You should be able to explain that to them, that this is it. My suggestion to you is structure an answer and try and memorize it a bit. That these are the things why you want to be in the IFS without, disparaging anything else. You say, sir, I understand you're not I was a police officer. You were not. So you'll say, sir, as I understand, police is also a good service. That's what I hear. But in my limited understanding of these services, which indeed is true, that this is what my understanding of foreign service is, and that's why I opted for it. Period. I will keep on suggesting you the structuring of your answer. You can fill in the blanks in between. Those facts you have to bring in. Because I can't give you your point of view on why you should join the IFS.
Yes.
If I were
Yes.
to ask this question, I can answer from my point of view. But they're asking you, you should have a point of view. But the structuring part, I'll tell you. Right?
Yes. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you,
Varun.
sir.
Yeah, Varun.
Hello.
Yes, Varun. I can hear you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, I wanted to ask. Sir, I wanted to ask in how much depth we have to prepare that graduation subject if our optional is not same, but our grades in the graduation subjects were better. So whether they can go in much detail about graduation subject.
Did you see my video on how to prepare for UPSC civil service interview?
Yes, sir. Sir, like
Is
you
there
told
any
that.
mention of this in that?
Yes, sir. Sir, like you told, basics should be covered. So
Did I say
just
that?
wanted to.
Watch that
Yes, sir.
again. देखिए एक बड़ा आप लोगों सबसे अनुरोध है हिंदी में एंड आई विल रिक्वेस्ट ऑल ऑफ यू इन इंग्लिश आल्सो जो भी सुनिए देखिए बड़ा ध्यान से सुनिए कर्सर लिए आज निकल गया बड़ी मेहनत से ये काम कर रहे हैं हम आपके लिए बहुत ध्यान से सुनिए उसको ध्यान से देखिए और दूसरा उसको रिफ्लेक्ट कीजिए आफ्टर दिस सेशन इज ओवर डोंट टॉक टू एनीबॉडी जस्ट रिफ्लेक्ट ऑन व्हाट मिस्टर अनिल स्वरूप सेड because that is the way of sticking to your mind. You have not done that. If you had seen my video, I very clearly said कि optional के बारे में आप अनावश्यक परेशान मत होइए.
Yes,
I've
sir.
said
I
that
was
very
not
clearly.
asking about. Sir,
आपका जो
optional के बारे में
BSc में
नहीं.
पढ़ा है वो आप भूल चुके हैं आप भूल जाइए उसे. Don't I was surprised that somebody was sitting in the library late in the night. मैंने क्या कर रहे हो यार और ज्ञान प्राप्त कर रहे हो ज्ञान तो आपको जितना वो किसी को नहीं है अब ज्ञान की अभिव्यक्ति के बारे में आप चिंता करो वो आप ना करके लाइब्रेरी में बैठो अनिल स्वरूप फोन कर रहे हैं फोन नहीं उठा रहे हो क्यों सर मैं लाइब्रेरी में बैठा अरे क्या कर रहे हो लाइब्रेरी में दोस्त के जाओ मूवी देखो खूब गप करो उसके साथ स्पीक एज मच एज यू कैन प्लीज डोंट वेस्ट योर टाइम इन लाइब्रेरीज and don't waste your time in rereading your optional. No, the next 1 month, you should be able to express whatever there is in your mind. And my friend, the amount of knowledge that you have, nobody has at this point in time. You qualified for the mains यार आज की तारीख में मैं बैठूं मैं नहीं क्वालिफाई करूं मेंस में आपको इतना ज्ञान है लेकिन अभिव्यक्ति नहीं है आपकी तो आप चिंता इस बात की मैं क्या पढ़ूं और मैं आपसे कह रहा हूं आप क्या बोलूं कैसे बोलूं आप इसको डिफरेंस समझ लीजिए आप देखिए जो आपको मजा आ रहा है वो करिए आप इस समय एक चीज बस करिए जो अतिरिक्त मैं बताता हूं न्यूज़पेपर बियॉन्ड इट जब आपको मन करे तो अपना पुस्तक देख लीजिए ऑप्शनल की मूड आए कर लीजिए पढ़ने के उद्देश्य से मत कीजिए एंड ऑप्शनल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू आई सेड इट इन दैट video also and I'm repeating it again in the context of your optional or the subject that you had in BA or MA if some recent incident has taken place that you should know So for example, if you are a student of political science, international relations, and if you have opted, or if you have not opted, you should know what's happening on the international front. That anyone should know, but having studied international relations, you should be slightly better positioned. So, my friends, there will be many Rai Sahabs telling you, ये भी पढ़ लो, अरे वो भी पढ़ लो, और यहाँ भी पढ़ लो, और वहाँ भी पढ़ लो, और बोलो, मालूम नहीं बोलो ना, वहाँ बोलने के नंबर मिलने आपको भाई. Mr. Varun, my suggestion to you is, I'm not sure whether you're reading the editorial article in the morning or not. Are you?
Yes, sir, I am reading, sir. I
Which
not
article
I
did
have
you
not
read
read.
this morning? Today morning, which
Sir, I
article
have,
did you read?
sir, I have not reading. I have not read today and day before
देखिए
yesterday,
मैं
but
पकड़
I have
लेता हूँ.
read.
देखिए आप तो, मैं तो 38 साल सेवा में रहा हूँ. मेरा तो काम ही है, मैं फट से पकड़ लेता हूँ कहाँ झूठ बोल रहा है. और बोर्ड मेंबर मुझसे ज्यादा होशियार हैं. मैंने आपसे प्रश्न किया, आप एडिटोरियल आर्टिकल पढ़ रहे हैं, आपने कहा पढ़ रहे हैं. मैंने कहा आज कौन सा पढ़ा, आज नहीं पढ़ा, बस गए आप, गई भैंस पानी में, बता रहा हूँ आपको. दे आर फार
Sir,
स्मार्टर देन यू थिंक यू आर टू कैच यू. भाई आप जितना मुझसे बोल रहे हैं ना, मैं इससे पकड़ लूंगा आप क्या कर रहे हैं क्या नहीं कर रहे हैं. So my friend, instead of wasting your time on optional, follow, and this applies to all of you. Read the editorial article without failure every day and speak it out in your own words in front of a mirror. Friends, in the past 7 years, many have benefited. Many did not do it and they are not in civil service. I'm telling you. I'm guaranteeing that you will not be in civil service if you do that. I'm guaranteeing it. 3 महीने बाद आपका रिजल्ट आएगा. पढ़ने से गारंटी तो नहीं होगी, लेकिन आप नहीं पढ़ेंगे तो निश्चित गारंटी ना आने की है. पढ़ने के चांसेस बढ़ जाएंगे आपके आने के. आएंगे नहीं आएंगे वो भी नहीं मैं कह सकता. सो चॉइस इज योर्स वरुण. यू कैन बी ऑब्सेस्ड विद योर ऑप्शनल. You can give a mains exam again, but interview you run into trouble if you don't follow. And this applies to each one of you. If you don't follow the suggestions that we are given, it's based on experience. For heaven's sake, read the editorial article aloud every day. Speak it out in your own words. I didn't ask this question to you, whether you are speaking it out in your own words. That's the most critical part. And then participate in group discussions. I hope each one of you is in a group and participating regularly in a group discussion. Apart from that, reading newspaper, yes, that is something which you should read very regularly. You should be fully conversant and aware of what is happening. Read your DAF very closely and see what sort of questions that are being asked. Please work on this. और बाकी आपको बहुत सारे राय साहब बहुत सारी राय देंगे कि ये लियो टॉल्स्टॉय की भी किताब पढ़ लो, और वॉरेन पीस तो पढ़ ही लो, और शेक्सपियर अगर नहीं पढ़ा तो वो भी पढ़ डालो. सब आपको बताएंगे ये भी पढ़ लो. आई एम ग्लैड दैट many of you are smiling. Keep smiling यार. आप इसको इतना सीरियसली क्यों कह रहे हो? Pat yourself on the back, you cleared the mains exam. Not many people do that. Relax and do what I am telling you in a very relaxed manner. आप इधर उधर ना जाइए. You be with me, you travel with me. I can guarantee you success. I've seen this happen. I can see some faces here. मैंने एक आध को one-on-one discussion में कहा है कि I guarantee that you'll qualify. I'm guaranteeing you'll qualify. I did that last year and the lady got 11th rank. Here in a close conversation, I said in a conversation, she's going to make it. Why? Because she was not so hassled about optional. She was very concerned about how she was going to speak. Each one of you should speak as much as you can during the course of the day. जिससे गप करो उससे करो. डिनर पे जाओ गप करो, चाय पियो, फिल्म देखो, मस्त रहो. आप मुझे कुछ लोग टेंस दिख रहे हैं. अरे भाई आपकी जगह मैं होता तो बड़ा खुश होता यार, मैं क्वालिफाई कर गया यार इंटरव्यू के लिए. खूब मुस्कुराइए और हर सेशन अटेंड कीजिए. राइट? So Varun, I gave a very long answer to you. We have run out of time, but I'll be in touch with all of you. You are most welcome to message me. I don't think anybody who's messaged me, anybody who's not got a response from me, I've responded to everyone. But I'm closing this with a suggestion that for the 3 important sessions that I'm going to take on sensitive questions, on actual action-based question, on opinion-based question, please mention your questions in the WhatsApp group and your feedback in the WhatsApp group, right? God bless you. Take it easy, relax, enjoy this time. This is the best time of your life. Don't unnecessarily tension mat lijiye or unnecessarily rai bhi mat lijiye. God bless you. Take care. We'll meet again. We'll meet tomorrow evening when Gaurav comes in. Be there on time, right? Thank you.